Hello, this is Dr. K. Paul Stoller commenting again about the disturbing Jeffrey Epstein affair. It is not just a scandal, it's a glimpse into the shadowy corridors of power that operate behind the scenes of global politics, finance, and intelligence. Epstein's story is about more than the abuse and murder of children, though that alone demands justice. It's about the mechanisms of leverage, control, and influence that remain hidden from public view. What is this hidden power structure? Who are the players? And how does it work? One of the most troubling aspects of the Epstein affair is the lack of conclusive evidence about the identities and motives of the individuals and organizations involved. Epstein's connections to royalty, politicians, and business magnates suggest he was part of something much larger. There are implications of ties to intelligence services, MI6, CIA, Mossad, but the public still lacks definitive answers. If true, it would mean Epstein's operations were part of a broader strategy to gather leverage on influential figures, potentially through blackmail or coercion. This raises the central question: who benefits from such a system, and what are their ultimate goals? The concept of leverage is central to understanding the Epstein phenomenon. By compromising powerful individuals, one can exert control over them and influence their decisions. Epstein's alleged use of underage girls to entrap his targets is a textbook example of this tactic. Blackmail has long been a tool used by intelligence agencies and criminal organizations to manipulate individuals. Epstein's network suggests a sophisticated operation designed to gather compromising material on influential people. When we see decisions made by governments or presidents that defy logic or morality, it's natural to wonder whether hidden leverage is at play. At the heart of the Epstein affair is the abuse of children, a crime that crosses every moral and legal red line. The United States, as a nation that prides itself on justice and human rights, must hold itself to a higher standard. While no country is perfect, there are certain lines that must never be crossed. When they are, the rule of law must prevail. The young girls exploited by Epstein and his network deserve justice. Their stories must be heard, and those responsible must be held accountable. This is not just about punishing Epstein, who is very likely alive. It's about uncovering the full extent of his network and ensuring that every individual involved faces the consequences of their actions. The Epstein affair raises a central question. What is this hidden power structure, and how does it operate? The lack of transparency surrounding Epstein's activities suggests a system that allows individuals and organizations to operate outside the bounds of the law. If intelligence agencies were involved, it would imply that Epstein's activities were part of a broader strategy to gather leverage on influential figures. This undermines the principles of democracy and transparency, calling into question the legitimacy of our institutions. The Epstein affair is a wake-up call for the United States and the world. It exposes the dark underbelly of power and forces us to confront uncomfortable truths about the systems that govern our lives. To move forward, we must demand transparency and accountability. Investigative efforts. Thoroughly investigate Epstein's connections to intelligence agencies, his network of powerful associates, and the mechanisms of leverage he used. Reforming institutions. Ensure that intelligence agencies, law enforcement, and the judicial system are held to the highest standards of accountability and integrity. The Epstein phenomenon is not just a story about one man's crimes. It's a window into a hidden power structure that operates outside the bounds of democracy and accountability. At its core, this is about the abuse and murder of children, a crime that crosses every moral and legal red line. The United States must hold itself to a higher standard and ensure that those responsible are brought to justice. Only by uncovering the truth and demanding accountability can we begin to dismantle the systems of power that allowed this tragedy to occur. The fight for transparency continues. Let's make sure every voice is heard.